Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And today we are thrilled once again to be joined by the charming, the clever, Bridget Todd. Welcome, Bridget.
Thank you for having me. Every time I come, I'm always so stoked with whatever superlative you give me in the intro. They get better every time.
Thank you. I'm trying not to, in my mind, cheat and use a thesaurus, but who knows? I might have to break it out one day.
One day. We're not there yet.
Not yet. But yes, Bridget, we're always so happy to have you. How have you been?
Sweaty as hell. Big, I don't know if it hit you all, but big heat wave where I'm at. Yeah, it's horrifying. Listeners can't see me, thank God, but the glistening is not dewy skincare. It is literal sweat because it is hot as balls. Can I say that on the show?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah, it's hot as balls. Yes. Did you all get that heat wave?
Yes.
Yes,
we did. I remember when we moved into kind of like home studio pandemic recording, Atlanta gets very hot. And I realized like you can't have my AC is really loud. And so I was trying to come up with a solution. And I came up with all kinds of wonky things like putting ice packs all around me, putting my underwear in the fridge, as Samantha knows. But we definitely did get it. And it was brutal. It was real tough.
Yeah, it impacts me as a podcaster because I have like a little soundproof booth, but you can't have a fan or AC in there because it'll ruin the soundproofing. So when I'm in there, I'm just like, I mean, sometimes I like it's like being in a sauna.
Yeah. I have what I call my sweatshirt, which is just a shirt I wear when I come in here.
Nice.
Because I don't want to do like laundry every like so often. So I'm like, this is the shirt I will sweat through while I'm podcasting.
I love that. Oh, that's
I don't like doing laundry. And I have to pay for it.
Yeah.
A lot of my quarters. No way.
So many things in this conversation.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, speaking of so many things, I feel a little bit guilty about this one, Bridget, because it was a big topic that I was like, you know what, I would really love to discuss this. And it's just a huge spiraling thing, complicated, but I really appreciate you bringing it. And I think it's really important and I'm excited to talk about it and to learn more. So what are we discussing today?
Today, we are diving into the wide world of privacy, specifically whether or not messaging apps like WhatsApp actually are private. And I know I can already hear somebody in their car or washing their dishes right now thinking, snooze, privacy has nothing to do with me. I don't break the law. I have nothing to hide. Whatever they have on me, they already have it. Who cares? That is actually a very common attitude called privacy nihilism, where you just are like, the government has all that they're going to have on me. It doesn't matter. And honestly, I get it. Most of us probably don't really think twice before you hit send on a message, right? But what if hitting send could put you at risk? And the truth is, in 2025, it literally can. Whether you're texting about abortion or a protest or whatever, your messages could be watched, flagged, or even used against you. Privacy isn't just for people with something to hide. It is for people with something to lose. And right now, in 2025, given everything that is going on, that is all of us.
Yes. And we're going to get into this more, but it seems that companies at least have tapped into this worry, this concern, and they're competing with each other in ad campaigns.
Well, Anney, you sent me this ad from WhatsApp that, in my opinion, heavily implied that WhatsApp is meant to be like a private, secure messaging platform, and that one could even trust it for a private conversation about healthcare. Like maybe if one was trying to pursue an abortion, this would be a platform that you could do that securely. You were also telling me about another ad from Apple where it was like camera birds being launched at people or something.
Yes. Yes, that ad is very frightening, everyone. It reminds me of the Black Mirror episode with like the robot dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, the like army robot dog that's like it's like the post-apocalyptic army robot killer dog. Oh my God.
Yes, but there's just these like cameras that have bird wings and they have this screeching sound they make and they fly after people on the street who are looking at their phone, implying that like they're watching you if you're on your phone or on your laptop. And they'll like crash into windows and there's a really piercing sound. It's really disturbing. And then it's an ad for Safari that's saying like, other browsers watch you, Safari doesn't.
Definitely, They got their finger on the pulse, and the pulse of the moment is concern about our vast surveillance state. That much is clear. Yes. I think people are worried about it, and I think these companies are like, oh, let's tap into people's understandable concern about the surveillance state right now.
It's so odd, though, because like when I sent you the WhatsApp campaign, it's strange to me in a way that we're living in such a dystopian world where there are ads that are like, you don't want anyone to know about your medical, like you don't want, it just has this vibe of overall, it's probably not safe for people to know about these things. I don't know. Which is true. It's absolutely true, but it's strange that it's in an ad campaign.
It's weird to get reminded of it while you're watching Bob's Burgers. Like I totally understand it does feel rather dystopian. I totally get it.
Yes. Oh.
And I should say right off the top that I am not like an online privacy expert. I don't work in IT. I would more call myself a privacy enthusiast. One of the projects that I work on, in addition to my own podcast, There Are No Girls on the Internet, is a podcast that I make with the Mozilla Foundation, the makers of the browser Firefox, called IRL. And it's a podcast all about technology, AI, ethics, and of course, privacy. We actually just launched our brand new season a few weeks ago, so folks should check it out. But what's interesting about the show, I think, is that we're really trying to make these conversations that might feel wonky or inaccessible accessible for everybody. And I think that it's important for folks like me who aren't necessarily privacy experts or don't work in IT to have a sense of the privacy of the technology and the platforms that we do use every day. Like, we shouldn't treat those as conversations that are just for experts. And especially in 2025, when, as we were just discussing, the vibes, it's giving 1984 at times. It's giving dystopian. It's giving, something out of a scary novel, only it's real. I don't know if that's how you all are feeling, but that's how I'm feeling. And so, yeah, privacy and the privacy around the apps that we use every single day becomes even more important.
Yes. And I know we're going to talk about it, but we've seen instances of these apps turning over data that people thought was private, weren't thinking that it was going to be shared in this way. So, and I have to say, WhatsApp is a app that I only have experience generally with my international friends. Mm-hmm. But I did always get this vibe that it was more secure than other apps. So when I saw this ad campaign, what set me off was not WhatsApp. It's when I saw Meta at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, wait, now I have a lot of concerns. So yeah, what's going on with WhatsApp here?
So let's get into it. For folks who maybe don't know about WhatsApp, it is a free global messaging platform that was launched in 2009, and it allows folks to send texts, voice messages, video messages, make voice and video calls, share images, documents, user locations, and other content. It has over 2 billion with a B, users. There are like 8 billion people on planet Earth, so that is a lot of users. And in 2016, it became the #1 messaging platform in the world. And Anney, you were just talking about how you associate it with international folks. And that is absolutely true because it is particularly important for global communication. If you have aunties or cousins in another country, odds are you've probably used WhatsApp to stay in touch. And by 2016, it was the primary means of internet communication in regions including the Americas, the Indian subcontinent, and large parts of Europe and Africa. So yeah, it is a very, very popular messaging platform. In 2014, it was bought by Meta, the company that runs Facebook, but back then it was still just called Facebook. Listeners have rightly called me out for sometimes mixing up those two names. Facebook was Facebook in 2014. They changed their name to Meta to sort of avoid some scandals, but Facebook and Meta, for the most part, are like, you can think of them as interchangeable for the most part. And so they bought WhatsApp in 2014, and that means that, like, the same way that for me getting online when I was a kid meant America Online, like America Online functionally was the internet for me, Facebook is essentially the internet for a whole big swatch of people all over the world, right? And this is all controlled by one person and one company, Mark Zuckerberg. And so really think about that. This one private company basically has total control of the main method of how people get information and communicate with each other. So that gives him specifically like an incredible amount of power that I would argue has not always been used ethically or responsibly, and not always done in a way that keeps what's best for people at the forefront. So if you're asking the big question of like whether or not you would trust WhatsApp run by Meta at their word that they are private, I mean, it really comes down to the fact, like, do you trust Facebook? Do you trust Mark Zuckerberg? Because that's really what it comes down to, how Facebook and Zuckerberg define what privacy is, like what is private and what is not private, and like what that means. And so this is where it gets a little bit confusing. WhatsApp's messages are end-to-end encrypted by default. So you don't have to turn anything on to message in that way, both for messages and for calls. And bottom line is, like, that is very good for privacy. So I want to be clear that I'm not saying that WhatsApp specifically is bad for privacy. However, the way that Meta operates as a company is what, in my opinion, makes things a little bit murky. Mozilla's Privacy Not Included blog put it like this: WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, which means Facebook can access some data WhatsApp collects on you for specified purposes, which may be bad for privacy. So this means WhatsApp might be collecting data on you when you use it. And we actually sort of know this is the case. As of September 2021, it is known that WhatsApp makes extensive use of outside contractors and AI systems to examine certain messages, images, and videos that have been flagged by users as possibly abusive. And it turns over to law enforcement metadata, including critical account and location information. So again, it really comes down to whether or not you consider that to be private.
Yeah. And also given like a lot of other news that's happened with Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, that just reverses everything that they said they were going to do. So it's also, I feel, an extension of that is, do I believe they're actually going to stick with this thing, or are they just going to change it?
I mean, I think it's reasonable to look at how companies historically have moved. When they say things, when they say one thing and then do the opposite, I think all of that plays into the question of like whether or not you're comfortable with them having information about you that could potentially wind you in jail. This is not a hypothetical. We'll talk more about this in a moment, but like that has happened. Conversations people had on Facebook platforms have led to them being in prison. So like that's in my book, that's like you're giving quite a bit of trust to these platforms. And you know, as I said, Meta owns Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and also works with a sprawling network of third parties and contractors, sometimes in like very opaque ways. And so my sense is that Meta is like, oh, well, WhatsApp itself is encrypted, so that means it's private, and then conveniently leave out that users who are concerned about their privacy might also be concerned about how and what data is then being shared with third parties. Like, I think that Facebook is like, well, we're encrypted, so that's private, and how Facebook and other companies access data, it's still private. I think that's their play there.
Yeah, and it does feel very like, I don't know, kind of shuffling it. Like even going back to that ad, the Meta symbol's very small in that ad. I have to say, I think they were like, we know. People know that we've gone through these scandals, but also kind of shuffling it off to the user of, you should figure out.
Mm-hmm.
This was on you. If you were worried about privacy, then I don't know why you didn't take whatever steps.
Yeah. I remember when WhatsApp was bought out and everybody was really upset because I think at that point, a lot of protests and like a lot of gatherings had happened through different messengers like WhatsApp because it were supposed to be encrypted. And then Facebook bought them out and everybody lost it. I remember people talking about what to do next. And that's when Signal kind of got its big boost, if I remember correctly. I mean, they've always been pretty big, but it got the bigger boost because WhatsApp eventually became known as now it's going to be Facebook. And then they were real quiet about it. They made sure not to change the brand or the logo. And then they were just, I think, really hoping people would forget who owned WhatsApp. And I feel like the same way, like you were talking about, when people start clicking on doing the messengers and you get that little, you have to read this is our terms of service. And no one reads that. Let's be real honest. It's hard to even decipher. I actually had a similar incident with like my loans. And when everything was popping off about Doge or DOGE, doing those weird things and looking at the loans and everybody's coming out with, hey, that's illegal. Y'all told us if it gets breached by like organizations like this, then our loans have to be forgiven. My specific loan site came back with a whole agreement that it tells me, by the way, a third party can get access if given permission by blah, blah, blah. If you agree to this, you can log in. If you don't, you can't log in, period.
But like, what, like, let's like be so for real.
Right.
Why would you have like read with first of all, you're not an attorney, you're not a lawyer, you're not a contract expert. You don't have all day to read sometimes what is like 30 pages of fine print. Like literally, there are artists and activists who have printed out the terms of service that you have to like, you know, agree to. And it'll be pages and pages and pages long. It's not reasonable to expect you to be able to read and understand all of that just to get information about your loan. So like, let's be for real.
They're literally holding your stuff hostage. I feel like that's also, I feel like this was a thing with Facebook, especially when they started changing terms and like, we have you, if you want to log in, you can, but you have to give us access to your computer, your information. We have ownership of all your pictures that you're posting. Like, I feel like they were kind of the beginning of that as well.
So it's so funny that you say this because in 2021, this all sort of came to a head when Apple and Facebook kind of had a dispute about this very thing, right? So Apple made this update to their App Store, which gave users privacy labels that showed all the different data that app will link to you. So when WhatsApp, owned by Meta, was in the App Store, Apple published this information that's like, oh, here's the data that this app will link to you. And people were like, wait a minute, I was told this was private. Like, why are you linking so much data to me? So then after that, WhatsApp updated their privacy policy, which inadvertently highlighted their years-old policy of sharing certain user data, like phone numbers, with Facebook. So people who were concerned about their privacy obviously freaked out. And then Ireland hit WhatsApp with a record $266 million fine for an alleged lack of transparency over how it shares data with Facebook. So when Apple actually gave users the tool to be like, oh, I can make an informed decision transparently about how my data is shared on this app, people were like, nah, I don't actually like that. Like, it really revealed that perhaps WhatsApp is not as private as some of these ads would have us believe.
Yes. And so going back to the ad where I was like, Bridget, I would love if we could talk about this. It's a WhatsApp ad. And I thought it was about abortion, but I've seen it since. And now I'm like, okay, it's just a medical situation. It's never clearly stated it's an abortion or anything like that. But the fact that my mind immediately went to, oh, they're talking about abortion or like kind of implying abortion. And I recoiled so viscerally because I was just like, no, that's terrible. Like, we can't be telling people this. And they have like a nice little, they show people typing and all the letters get all mixed up with numbers and stuff like that. So you can't see what they're typing. But I think that goes to show the concerns a lot of us have of this technology that's telling you like, oh no, it's private. You can do this thing that has unfortunately become dangerous or risky for a lot of people. And my mind immediately was like, abortion, no, that's bad.
Yeah, I saw the ad too. I think they were trying to like you're not seeing things. Like, they don't come out and say it, but I had the same interpretation of that ad as you did. And I think it's just, I think people should just know what's up about WhatsApp. Like, they should understand like what is actually happening. Because if I were to use any analogy to explain it, I would say there's private in that you told your good girlfriend something and she took it to her grave and she never told a soul. And then there's private, like that you told your good girlfriend something and she shared it with her husband. And it's one thing when we're talking about like a juicy secret. It's another when we're talking about something that unfortunately like could get you locked up. And, you know, when it comes to abortion, we know that Facebook does have a bit of a track record with this. So Facebook turned over the chats of a mother and daughter to Nebraska police after they were served with a warrant as part of an investigation into an illegal abortion. So notably, these two women were not using WhatsApp. They were using Facebook Messenger. But I do think it shows some insight into how this all works because, as I said, it's all the same umbrella company, Meta. So in June, before Roe was overturned, Facebook gave the police department in Norfolk, Nebraska, access to their private messages that Jessica Burgess and her then 17-year-old daughter shared about how to obtain abortion pills. Burgess ended up getting sentenced to 2 years in prison, and her daughter got 90 days. The platform that they were using to communicate, Facebook Messenger, does offer end-to-end encryption, just like WhatsApp does, meaning that the chats between the two women were only visible to them on their phones and not readable by Facebook or any government entity that makes a legal request to the company. But that option is really only available to folks who are using Facebook Messenger on the app on a mobile device, not like on desktop or on a laptop or something. And the messages are only encrypted after users select the option to mark those chats as secret. So you can see how that's less secure than WhatsApp that has that as a default setting. Like, you have to go in and click secret on mobile to get that end-to-end encryption. And what's worse is that Facebook just immediately complied by giving these chats over to the police, which they really don't have to do. Legal experts told The Guardian that Facebook could have fought the warrant in court. There are other instances where tech companies have refused to comply with government demands. Apple refused to comply with federal law enforcement's request to break into an iPhone involving the San Bernardino shooting back in 2016. And Facebook itself successfully refused to comply with a wiretapping request for messenger calls back in 2018. So they don't have to give this information over to police, but they do, and they're able to have it.
And that's the frightening thing. Because all of us use this stuff. In some way or another, maybe not Facebook Messenger or maybe not WhatsApp, but it's just a concern with all of these platforms of, you know what, I thought this was something that was private.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to jail or it's been turned over.
We can talk about the fact that they have been hacked so many. My WhatsApp has been hacked so many times. My Messenger has been hacked so much. I was like, F this, I'm not doing this anymore. And I completely refuse to use it, except anytime anyone sends me a message, whether it's my partner or someone, you have to download it if you're not on the laptop. And even on the laptop, you can't get it unless you download the app and get another code, which is like, what? You're making me do this?
So I actually included all the different instances of WhatsApp being hacked. There are many. There's many, many, many. At the last minute, I was like, well, hacking is different than, I mean, it's not different than privacy. I made a game day decision to be like, let's exclude hacking from the conversation. But
I won't let you.
WhatsApp be getting hacked. Like, it's a real thing.
I mean, if they want to say being, like, it's secure and private and all these things, but like one goes in hand. How am I going to trust you if every other day I get a message from this person that's saying, hey, did you send me these things just because I opened an app? And it turns out that someone has hacked into my account. Like, obviously, if you can't even get like the security to keep my stuff okay, how do you have the ability to keep it private?
Exactly. Just to be super clear, even if WhatsApp, their encryption means that they cannot hand the content of your messages over to the police, if the police were trying to build a case against you that relied on location data, like say, did you travel to XYZ location to obtain an abortion and you live in a place where you were not legally permitted to travel across state lines to do so? Or like, were you at XYZ protest? WhatsApp has metadata. So even if they can't get the actual messages, they're fine giving metadata, which includes things like your location, your contacts, who you were messaging. They're fine to give that information over. And they have that information. And so it's really about understanding privacy in a more holistic way, that it's not just about the content of your messages. It's about how secure is its platform? Like, is it easily hacked? Is it hackable? Does it have a history of being hacked? What kind of metadata are they collecting? How do they use that metadata? It's really about asking all of these background questions in addition to just like, how do they keep my content safe?
Right. And on top of that, it's also, there are some things, some laws that we have that sort of allow for them to be like, yeah, we can track you, right?
Yeah. So I learned this in doing the research for this episode, that thanks to the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, they're basically able to track users without probable cause. In January 2022, an unsealed surveillance application revealed that WhatsApp started tracking 7 users from China in November 2021, based on a request from US DEA investigators. The app collected data on who the users contacted and how often and when and how they were using the app. And this is reportedly not an isolated thing, as federal agencies can use the Electronic Communications Privacy Act to covertly track users without submitting any probable cause or linking a user's number to their identity. And I should just add a sort of global note about this whole thing is that WhatsApp has 2 different platforms, regular WhatsApp and then WhatsApp Business, that's meant for small businesses to communicate, that was rolled out in 2018. Everything that I've said so far is really about regular WhatsApp. And that's because WhatsApp's business platform is actually less private. So yeah, don't use that to talk about anything.
That's not the way I thought that was going to go.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense because, like, if you're a business entity, you're communicating with so many different people in such a different way that, like, I kind of get where they're coming from there. But I just wanted to say that in case someone's like, oh, I have WhatsApp Business. Like, let me use it the way that Bridget told me I should be using it. Like, that's a whole different beast.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be an upgrade. Was not.
Definite downgrade.
Not business class.
No, because on a plane, it's like better. When it comes to messaging, it's worse.
Not this one. Okay.
Okay, well, we have been, focusing on WhatsApp, and surely all of these applications we could talk about, but WhatsApp in particular, how's it doing with privacy when it comes to privacy?
So as I said, ultimately, WhatsApp, I would say, is like pretty private, like good for privacy. Here's how Mozilla's privacy experts put it. From a technical perspective, no, WhatsApp itself is not really bad for privacy. WhatsApp uses strong end-to-end encryption for all texts, chats, and video calls. This is great. WhatsApp cannot read your messages or see your call. The flip side of this is Facebook, a company infamous for its vast and questionably ethical collection of so much data, owns WhatsApp. This means that lots of metadata, things like purchase history, location, device ID, and more, can be captured and shared with businesses advertising on WhatsApp. So people looking for a true privacy-centered messaging app can find much better options.
Yes. And speaking of, we have a better option.
Teeing me up beautifully to talk about one of my favorite apps, and that is Signal. I am such a Signal fangirl. I have been a fangirl of Signal for a very long time. I remember the very first time I encountered Signal, I was like trying to date somebody, and this person eventually became like a very good friend of mine. But initially I was like, oh, what's this platform? And I was telling a friend, like, oh, I met this person, and they didn't give me their number. They were like, here's my Signal. And my friend I was telling this to was like, are they an eco-terrorist? Because back then, the only person who would have Signal on their phone was an eco-terrorist. Like, that is how long I've been with Signal. But Signal is amazing. It is free. Everyone listening should download Signal right now. And it is run by an incredible nonprofit that is helmed by this woman, Meredith Whitaker, who is this bad woman in technology who does a lot of interesting writing on surveillance. I genuinely, deeply, deeply admire her. If you ever want to be really challenged in a good way, watch up videos of her lectures. She's just a fascinating human being. And so Signal is generally considered to be more secure and private than WhatsApp due to its just general commitment to user privacy as a nonprofit and its open source nature. While WhatsApp uses end-to-end encryption, Signal goes further by not collecting any user metadata and being backed by this nonprofit organization, which generally does minimize the potential for that kind of data exploitation, right? And so, whereas they're both using end-to-end encryption, WhatsApp does collect and share metadata. Signal does not. They don't collect any of that. So that is definitely the better platform if you're talking about anything at all sensitive. And honestly, it's just a platform that I use. Most of my conversations are happening on Signal.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to insert this joke here. Unless you're dumb enough to send messages to the people you're not supposed to be sending, top secret information to journalists.
If you're
Just
listening,
saying.
Pete Hegseth, we're talking about you. And you know what makes me mad about that is that was probably for a lot of Americans, that was probably the first time they had ever heard about Signal. And Signal is so awesome. It's so great. They have such a great mission. And it made me sad that the first encounter that a lot of people were having was with Pete Hegseth, completely misusing it. And even in some of the reporting about that, they were sort of trying to make it Signal's mistake.
Really?
Oh
no.
What is this shadowy app that they were using and how could this happen? And it's no, Signal didn't do anything wrong. It was 100% user error.
Right. Honestly, I was really shocked that they use such a public platform that is free. I'm you're the government. Don't you have your own kind of chat application that you used within your own people? There's a lot I have questions about in this moment.
I can answer that question for you. The answer is absolutely. The United States government spends lots and lots and lots of money to develop and use super secure messaging apparatus. Signal is not the use case for this. If you're talking about secret military plans, I do love I read the different conversations that were happening. I can't remember who it was. It might have been JD Vance. Don't quote me on that. Who is only responding in thumbs up emojis. It's one of them that is just stick a thumbs up there and they'll get the gist. I don't want to be in print on this one. Which, looking back, was probably a smart idea.
Yeah, level of comedy here is just what is going on? But it feels right. It feels about right. The disaster and doom in a comedic form. Yeah, okay, that's where we are.
Sometimes you gotta laugh to keep from crying. Am I right?
Yes.
It's true. I have to admit to you all, I wrote in a fan fiction lately. I had a plot point about this whole thing.
The Hegseth thing?
Yes, because I was
Really?
trying to figure out how to make something that was incredibly stupid happen in the government. And I was well, it already happened.
Right.
So I can point to real life evidence and be you know what? I would have thought it was too stupid.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
It did happen. So I just wrote it in and it kind of saved me a whole headache of figuring out how that next.
I mean, it's true. All of the things that they have predicted this level of stupidity, it's no longer funny because it's right on.
Yeah.
This should not be this real.
Stuff is bad when if you were writing a fictional work about it and you would be oh, that's too on the nose. Nobody's going to buy that. And it's no, homie, it happened. Ripped from the headlines.
You're good.
Yes. Well, one thing that one of the reasons I really wanted to talk about this, Bridget, is that when I saw that commercial, I was so worried about people believing it. I was really concerned that people would be oh, this is a secure interface that I can use, and getting in trouble or having this really terrible experience. And I do know what you were talking about earlier, that a lot of people do have that sort of burnout of you know what, they already know, they already have it. What's even worth trying? But it really worried me when I saw it. And I think given the environment we live in now, that it is something that we need to talk about and be aware of and be educated on.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you're bringing it to the Sminty listeners because it is important, and it can always be really hard to tell marketing from reality, especially with this because it is a little bit murky. But I guess I would just offer, like, the reality is that we're in a world where our rights are being rolled back, where protest is criminalized, healthcare is criminalized. In a world like that, privacy and security is not just a tech issue, it is a survival issue. And we have to protect our data and our conversations the way that we also protect each other. I know that someone listening out there is like, Bridget, you sound paranoid. It is not about being paranoid. It's about being prepared and being cognizant of, like, the reality that we are in today. And so if using Signal over WhatsApp and getting into the habit of doing that, if that could potentially save somebody listening a whole lot of stress, I want to offer that. Like, there are small, meaningful changes that we can make to keep things more secure and private that don't cost us anything that we should be doing. And I honestly think, like, if you are someone who is, I don't even know how to put this, like I am, like, prepper minded a little bit, right? Like, I'm like, oh, the vibes are bad, the vibes are weird, like, better get prepared. I think right now, the big thing we should be preparing for is cyber security. And like I think that it's probably more likely that we are going to see digital attacks and cyber attacks, probably more so than other kinds of things you could be prepping for. And so preparing and getting yourself situated for those kinds of attacks is easy and free. It doesn't take a lot. And so I would say if you're feeling unnerved and uncertain in these times, start there. Like, that is something that you can manage. It does not take a lot to get yourself in a good, protected place.
Yes. And you, over on your podcast, There Are No Girls on the Internet, and other episodes on Sminty, you've done a lot of episodes about that, about how that can look and what you can do. So thank you, as always.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. My pleasure. And if you want more conversations about tech and privacy, check out the newest season of Mozilla's IRL podcast, all about those very topics.
Yes. And thank you. We always love having you on. Thank you for taking this topic suggestion. But yes, where can the good listeners find you?
You can find me at the IRL podcast, on my podcast, There Are No Girls on the Internet, and on Instagram at Bridget Marie in DC.
Yes. Well, looking forward to next time, Bridget. In the meantime, if you would like to contact us listeners, you can email us at hello@stuffmomnevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.